Okay, come on in, year 11. Welcome back to class. What you need to do is take a seat, get settled, get your stuff all organised, and then pick up your workbooks and a pen and come and sit anywhere in this circle that I've made at the front of the class, okay? Up to you where you want to sit, but let's just do that quite quickly because we've got a lot to get through today. Okay, nice, everyone's settled. So, before we start on today's lesson, I wanted to get a few of you just to recap what we've done the past week for those who weren't here. So hands up if you've got a little idea or if you know exactly what we did last week, and let's get that down. Yeah? Yeah, that's right. So we were reading Australian poems and ballads, yeah. What ones were we reading in particular? Yeah, Drovers, the Ballad of the Drover, that's right. And what other texts were there? We had 2 films, remember? Yep, Brand New Day and nice, Red Dog. And now, why were we reading them or watching them? Why did we do that? Yeah, to look at Australian representation, that's right. Nice, that's really good. And what were like some particular things that we looked at? Yeah, so we, looking at representation, we defined it, hey, and then where did we go from there? Yep, so we also looked at the different elements that create representations. So, defined representation. And the elements. And what are some of those elements? Yes, text structures. That's a great one. And an example of a text structure. Yep, paragraphing. What else? Yeah, language features. That's a big one. And an example of that. Yep. Simile, metaphor. So those are figurative language features. And then we have other language features like punctuation, vocabulary. Yeah, we also looked at things like camera angles, costumes, music, because those are all of the features that we get in the films that aren't in the poems. That's really great. Yeah, that's a general idea of what we did. So next thing, what did we do? This was lesson 3, I think, last week. Yeah, perspective. That's a big one. So we defined perspective. And what do we do next? Yeah, we did the same thing here. We identified the elements in the text that create that perspective. And so that's got to do with specifically maybe the narrator. And then we have what else? Yeah, so the attitudes, values, and beliefs that are constructed. Yeah. And they all construct a representation and a perspective. Yeah? Okay, that is a great recap. So remember, if you weren't here at any point last week, make sure you take down what you missed so that you can catch up, okay? So basically, what you need to do is write down what you missed specifically, come to me at the end of the lesson, and I will give you whatever work you need to catch up on, okay? It's really important that we do this. Okay, now that we've done that, the recap, let's all write down our learning goals and our success criteria into your books for today, okay? And they are, for today, we're going to ask and answer higher order thinking questions about our text in particular. And we are also aiming to select and synthesize, remember those are words, those cognitive verbs in the syllabus, synthesize those questions into a Peel paragraph. Peel being, point, evidence, explanation, link. And how you know that you have achieved these goals, our success criteria, is that you actively participate in the discussion we're going to have today, and that you complete a Peel paragraph to hand in to me so that I can provide you with some written feedback just to help you learn and go that next step further. Okay, now, can someone actually tell me, we haven't looked at this much, but why do we write these things in our books every lesson? Why do we write down our learning goals and success criteria? Yeah? So, we read and we write our learning goals because it helps us understand what we're actually working towards and what we want to achieve in our lesson. So taking this little 5 minutes at the start of each lesson to do this actually makes it more likely that we're going to accomplish the goals that we want to achieve. Little fact for you, did you know that people who write down their goals, both like our lesson goals and just general goals, are actually 20% more likely to achieve them? That's how important it is that we do this. Okay, so for today's topic, in English, in this lesson, we have been reading texts like the poems and ballads and the movies that we've been watching to see how the world has changed and how the texts have influenced Australia's representation, our identity and the perspectives that Australian texts are showing. And we've been looking at the text and reflecting on how we think as Australians. And the way we do this, biggest thing, is using questions. Questions like the ones I asked you for our recap, or deeper questions like we're going to get into. And this helps us, this really is our analysis. We can't analyse without asking questions. And we can develop an extremely strong analysis of the representations in text depending on the questions that we ask. So this is our goal for today, and it's going to look a lot like the lesson we completed early on in the unit. Does anyone remember that? It was like a Socratic discussion is what it's called. Yeah, so the chairs were set up exactly like this. We're gonna do this because I feel like it'll be good to see how far we've come as a class, as well as just get some really good discussion about this. So basically, just to make sure you all remember still, we sit in a circle, I give you a question to discuss, and then each of you can add your input to the discussion, remembering that there's no wrong answers, okay? In English, as long as you can justify what you're saying, you are right. Or you're just not wrong. So, remember, last thing, hands up, please do not call out over the top of someone. We want to keep this a really nice discussion in terms of positive things that we're saying. We're not critiquing others. If you do have a different opinion, just say, that's really interesting, I think this. And I will point to you when you put your hand up if it is your turn to speak, okay? And just quickly, how this will work is we'll start to my left and we'll go round the circle answering the question, adding some discussion, and if it isn't your turn yet but you want to add something, just chuck your hand up and we'll duck to you before heading back to the next person. Okay? So once we've finished discussing, big little point, I like to set out the whole lesson for you guys so you know what is coming. We are going to write a Peel paragraph based on what we've discussed. So you'll take this immense analysis, this huge discussion that we've had, and select and synthesize, they're the words, and put it into a really neat, nice peel paragraph. Really deep peel paragraph as well, that's what I'm hoping for. So let's start and have a bit of a discussion about the influence of these texts. First question is, everyone ready? Feel free to write this down if you want in your books. How has Australia been represented in the text that we have been reading? How have we been represented? How has the country Australia, the people in Australia, really the concept of Australia, how has that been represented in the text, specifically not just in the whole world, but in the text that we've been reading? So in Red Dog, in Brand New Day, and in the Ballad of the Drover. You may want to talk about one text, you may want to talk about all of them. Let's have a little 5-minute pause, and you can take some notes in your book, write down what you might want to talk about, and then let's get started.